Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome our guest speaker today, Mr. Tucker Davis, an assistant professor here at Western Kentucky University. Mr. Davis has recently won a faculty teaching award for University College. Today he will be talking about how to map your route. Thank you for coming today. Students, could we give a hand of welcome to our guest, Mr. Tucker Davis.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Guyver, for letting me come in here today. So, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but today, this semester at our South Campus here, we've adopted a theme called Map Your Route, right? Have y'all familiar with that? So, what does Map Your Route mean to you, do you think? Any ideas?
Have an idea where you want to go in life?
Okay, so some sounds like future, right? Where you want to be, where you want to go. All right, so that's basically what I tried to distill here, right? If you wanted to map a route, what do you think is the most important thing? What's the most important thing that you would need to map your route? Okay, so my thinking is that the map in your route would be the plan, right? So yeah, that's very important. Do you think it's the most important? What are you planning for?
For future.
Say again?
Future.
For the future, right? So the most important thing, if you were going to map your route, and I think this is something that people don't spend enough time on when they start to plan, is the destination, right? So where do you want to end up? I mean, a lot of people haven't thought about tomorrow or next week or a year from now, right? Much less 5 years from now or what they want to do as a career 10 years from now, right? Most people don't give that any thought. I mean, have you all picked out majors? Do y'all have a major? What's your major? Say again? Computer science, okay. Mark, you said you had one?
Architectural drafting.
Architectural drafting, okay. So having the goal, right, whether it's a major, and is your major really your ultimate goal? Is that really all you want, is to have the degree?
Yeah.
So I want to have a job.
Yeah, you want your degree to get you to a job, right? So choosing a degree or choosing a major is already part of your plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not even the destination. The destination is to have a career that's going to sustain you through the rest of your life and maybe your family as well, right? So the most important thing is the destination. Where do you want to end up? Right? How are you going to, what is it that you want? And your destination could be your career, your job. It could be something as simple as saving $1,000, right? It could be any small thing to any large thing. So what I've tried to do here is I've tried to, well, let me talk about this, because I don't think that the destination is given enough emphasis, right? I mean, Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing, right? So you don't want nothing. We all want something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's impossible to map your route if you don't know the destination there. And again, having a destination just keeps you from drifting around aimlessly. I think I watched somebody give a talk the other day where they emphasized going with their gut, right? And everything in his talk had to do with just winging it, right? Just shooting from the hip, winging it. And so I bet there was some planning going on in his life that he maybe didn't mention or didn't consider because he became a real successful guy. So the destination, though, should be important to you for your own reasons. You know, what do you want out of life, right? Do you want to be a computer scientist? Do you just want money, right? Whatever it is, it should be important to you. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to be fit? So once you have your destination chosen, and again, I want to emphasize that you should be very thoughtful about choosing your destination. But once you have your destination chosen, then what do you have to do? How do you get there? What do you think? Okay, work hard. I totally agree with that. Working hard is very much a part of it. But is working hard always going to get you to your goal?
Believe it.
Okay, you should believe that you can do it. You should believe that it's possible.
Not faith.
Okay, I think that's what he was trying to say, right? But yeah, definitely. But literally, how are you going to get there? Okay, you say explore, like try different things, right? Well, how are you going to get there? That really depends, right? I mean, you might have to explore because it really depends on the specific goal. What is it, you want to achieve, right? So what I've tried to do here today is I've tried to take this idea of how do we make this route, how do we map our route, how do we make a plan, and I've tried to make it very general so that it can be applied to any goal or any hope or desire you have, right? So what do you need a plan for? Hopefully this will help you make a plan, right? So this is Jody Picoult. She says the difference between a dream and a goal is a plan. You've got to have a plan, right? And the plan is going to be very specific to whatever your goal is, right? So what I try to do, like I said, is come up with this generalized model. I'm going to call it the shuns, okay? So the shuns here are, first you've got to have a destination. You've got to know where it is you want to go, right? We already talked about that. Once you have your destination, well, you need some information about that thing, right? If you want to be a computer scientist, what are the requirements to be a computer scientist, right? Do you have to have a degree to be a computer scientist? I mean, maybe if you want to go work for Facebook or Google, maybe they require a degree, right? If you want to be a doctor, like, can you just start reading books and all of a sudden go out to the hospital and get a job being a doctor? No, there are requirements, right? So you need to know some information about what's required, about how to go about it so that you're prepared for your task, right? For your goal. And then you need to take all that information, you need to distill it, you need to boil it all down and organize it so that you know what's going on and so that it makes sense a little bit. And once you organize it, then you're going to implement your plan. So you're going to make your plan. So implementation, it just means you're going to do it, right? You're going to use that plan, right? And then adaptation. Because what are we talking about? We're talking about a goal, we're talking about a destination, somewhere we want to be when? In the future, right? And the future is full of uncertainty, right? So there's a lot of unknowns about the future. Things change, you change, right? There's all kinds of things that you need to be prepared to adapt for and be flexible with. All right, so real quick, we'll talk about the destination. We already talked about this. So the destination here, you want to identify your goal. There's lots of things about goal planning, goal setting, right? They should be SMART goals. Then you want to write them down, all right? Now, what I've tried to do with my goals is everybody's got a phone these days, right? Like I've made my screen like tells me what my goal is. So every time I turn my phone on, I see my goal. It reminds me of my goal. It keeps me focused, right? You want to gather some information, right? You want to organize that information, like I said, implement the task or implement that stuff, adapt it. All right, so real quick, I want to talk about the shuns, like in a quick example, all right? It's advising time. Everybody going to see your advisors these days? All right, so we're trying to pick our classes for the fall. So how can we use this destination, information, organization, implementation, and adaptation to pick our classes or do our major for our college, right? Well, so first of all, you got to gather some information. Well, like I said, you got to know what your career wants to be. What is your career going to be? What's the future demand and the income? That helped me decide what I wanted to be as a career, for a career. And I should give you some context. My goal here is recently, like 2012, I decided I want to go back to school and take some classes, right? I'm still working here full time. I wanted to start working on an accounting degree. So what I started thinking about, well, before I knew I was going to be accounting, what goals or what jobs would I want to do, right? I want to do something part-time because I want to keep doing what I'm doing, right? So I started to look at physical therapy, accounting, and electrical engineering, right? So I looked at the careers, I looked at the requirements, responsibilities for those, and then what is important to you all as well is I started looking at what the majors were here at campus, right? What are the available majors? What are the requirements? And then I thought about, okay, where do I find that stuff? the WKU course catalog. So you all will probably want to know the WKU course catalog, right? That's where all the majors are listed and all the major requirements. The Gen Ed requirements are all found if you just Google WKU College Ed requirements. That's the general education requirements for here in Western, right? So I've had to find all these things out. Also, I need the specific course requirements. I know I just breezed right by it. So these screenshots are just me Googling. It's just showing you, hey, I just Googled WKU College Ed to find that information. And that's what it looks like. That's where it takes me. All right, and this tells me all the requirements that I need for the general education requirement for Western, that I need for a degree. Here's the course catalog. Me just looking for that real quick. All right, so what this is, and I know it's really, really messy and hard to see, but this is a picture of this right here. This is where I took all that information, right, and I've just laid it all out in some kind of organized fashion so I can make a decision about which major I wanted. All right, here's all the accounting requirements. These were all the electrical engineering requirements in the middle, and all of the physical therapy requirements over here, right? At the top, I have lots of classes we're offering in the summer. That's when I'm going to be able to take classes, right? So I found out information that's going to tailor fit this thing for me. And then over here, I have physical therapy. Pays average salary, $140,000. Well, that's appealing too, right? So I needed to know all that information before I made a decision. Well, for me, it boiled down to accounting. So I decided I was going to start going for accounting. So I said, okay, I need to look at the specific course requirements for accounting. So I did the course descriptions page. That's what it looks like for all the accounting stuff. You see it there at the beginning. And so then what I did was I took all the courses for accounting again, and I organized them again into this grid, right? And I split them up by courses when I would take one each semester. So I took my big task of getting an accounting degree and I broke it down into semester tasks, right? And these small tasks are doable. They're manageable, right? So I would encourage you to, when you go see your advisor, look for all this information, find all this information, and try to sort it out, organize it, right? And then you just start getting to work on your plan, man. Implement that plan. And then, but you got to be ready to adapt. And I'll just say this little note here real quick. As far as adaptation, this semester I ran into a snag. One of the classes I needed isn't offered at a time I can take it. So I had to be willing to adjust my schedule here and take a different class instead. So it kind of might set me back a little bit, but you got to be willing to be flexible. So I did another example here. I'll just breeze through it, but it's just to save money and debt, right? If you're trying to save money, what's the information? How do you organize it? Well, you do a monthly budget. You would do a yearly budget. That's organizing all your information. And then you would just start to implement it, right? All right, so things to remember. The shuns. You got to get your destination most important, right? Then you've got to find some information about that destination. Then you're going to have to organize that stuff. Then you just got to get to work on your plan, implement the plan, and be willing to be flexible a little bit. All right, so there you go. Remember, the quality and completeness of your plan, it's going to depend on the information that you put in. All right? How well the plan is implemented is going to be based totally on how important it is to you, how motivated you are to get it done, all right? How hard you're willing to work. All right, and be willing to modify your plan. All right, so here's my information, right? So if anybody would like to talk to me more about planning, how I enjoy the planning part of it, right? So that's my information, right? And then this is one of my favorite quotes, right? Hard work and proper planning lead to prosperity, right? Well, hasty shortcuts, though, they lead to poverty. Okay, so that's one of my favorite quotes. So if y'all have any questions or anything, you feel free to ask. Thank you all for letting me have this
Thank you,
time.
Mr. Davis. Thank you so much.